The night I watched my HOA president get handcuffed at my front gate, the same steel gate she'd tried to pry open with a crowbar at 2-something in the morning, I realized just how far this whole mess had spiraled. And the craziest part? That wasn't even the wildest thing she did. No, the moment that really broke her was when she got trapped behind my gate like a raccoon caught in a dumpster, live streamed to thousands of people who cheered like they were watching the Super Bowl. But to understand how I got there, you have to know everything that happened before it all: the humiliation, the rage, the nights I sat staring at paperwork, wondering if I was the insane one. When I first moved into Willowbrook Estates, I wasn't looking for a fight. Honestly, I was just trying to breathe again. My marriage had imploded spectacularly, and I wanted a quiet place to rebuild. I'm a 45-year-old software engineer who works from home. No wild parties, no motorcycles, no lawn full of rusty appliances. Just a guy who needed a fresh start. The neighborhood looked like something out of a real estate ad: tree-lined streets, matching mailboxes, freshly cut lawns, little dog walkers who waved at you like you were joining a small-town parade. But anyone who survived an HOA knows this perfection always has a price. And that price usually comes in the form of one power-hungry board member who treats the bylaws like scripture and themselves like the chosen prophet. For us, that prophet was Dolores Dolly Piton, 52 years old, hair sprayed stiff enough to survive a hurricane-white BMW custom license plate, HOA 1 tapping her damn iPad like it was a judge's gavel. I met her on my 3rd week there. I was unpacking, enjoying my first peaceful morning coffee since the divorce, when someone pounded on my front door like they were there to announce my tax fraud indictment. I opened it, confused, and there she was, Dolly, standing on my porch with her stylus poised like a miniature sword. "Your mailbox is non-compliant," she announced, before I even said hi. "Black is not an approved color. You'll need to correct it within 10 days. Fine $150. It took me 10 seconds to process the fact that this woman was yelling at me over a mailbox. A mailbox that came with the house. A mailbox that her own damn HOA approved in 2019. When I said that, she blinked just once and said, "Well, we've updated standards," and walked off like she'd just performed a public service. That was my first hint. The second hint came fast, and then the third, and then the fourth. Fines started arriving like subscription boxes I never signed up for. Commercial vehicle because my work van was in my own driveway. Aesthetic violation because of a garden gnome my daughter gave me. Atmosphere of suspicion because I installed security cameras after a neighbor's place got robbed. Who even writes phrases like that? Atmosphere of suspicion. What did she want me to do? Leave my doors unlocked for the sake of community vibes? But the moment I truly snapped was the day of my housewarming BBQ. I had about 15 neighbors over kids running around burgers, smoking a decent playlist going. For the first time since my marriage detonated, I felt human. And right in the middle of that fragile little moment of happiness, Dolly marched straight into my backyard uninvited, like she owned federal jurisdiction. She had a noise meter in one hand and a measuring tape in the other. "This exceeds maximum assembly parameters," she declared, thrilled to embarrass me in front of everyone. 30 minutes to disperse. The neighbors left with the speed of people evacuating a burning building. The charcoal went cold, the laughter evaporated, and I just stood there staring at a table full of untouched food, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. That night I sat in my living room surrounded by moving boxes and silence. I felt small, humiliated, and yeah, I started wondering if maybe Dolly was right. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe if I just followed every stupid rule, life would get easier. Then the certified letter arrived. Thick envelope, bright green sticker, words in angry red font. Notice of intent to file property lien. She claimed I owed $2,400 in fines plus $800 in made-up fees that looked like she generated them with a random number generator. That was the night I hit rock bottom. I held that letter and thought, is this worth it? Do I just pay? Do I walk away from the house? I didn't sleep. I felt trapped in a system designed to make normal people give up. And I almost did. Almost. Then something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the caffeine. Maybe spite is a renewable energy source. But I sat at my dining table with stacks of HOA bylaws, state property laws, highlighters, sticky notes, coffee cups, and I realized something. Dolly wasn't powerful. She was sloppy. She skipped mandatory hearings, overcharged fines, invented fees out of thin air. And as I'd soon learn, she'd done this to other families too. But the universe had one more twist waiting for me. While researching zoning laws, I stumbled across a map showing 40 acres of agricultural land, directly next to our subdivision land, completely outside the HOA's reach. I met the owner, Ezra, at a diner. We shook hands. And within days I owned 40 acres of pure, ungovernable freedom. The day Dolly found out, she showed up at my door shaking with fury. "You can't buy land to spite the HOA." I pulled the deed from my pocket like I was revealing a winning poker hand. "Watch me." Her face cracked. I swear I saw her pupils dilate like she was undergoing a medical emergency. She stormed off, leaving skid marks on the street. And that's when the real war started. She found out I was planning a driveway onto the agricultural property and filed complaints with the city. Claimed my future tractor would destroy community character. Claimed my driveway would introduce hazardous farm traffic. I hired a surveyor top of the line, and he discovered something glorious. Our HOA map was wrong. My lot extended 15 extra feet. My driveway was legal. Permits not required. Construction began at exactly 7:00 a.m. every morning, perfectly legal. And the crew was made of people Dolly had wronged in the past. For them, this driveway was therapy. When the gate installation started, an 8-foot steel fortress, Dolly nearly imploded. She stood at my property line recording videos like she was documenting war crimes. She screamed about property values. She called code enforcement daily. She tried to block trucks with her body until her husband dragged her away. Then came the moment that made her crack. She sneered, "You can't watch everything all the time, Marcus." I lifted my phone and showed her the live camera feed. "I can now." She stared at the screen like I'd revealed her future obituary. But karma wasn't done. One rainy afternoon, a UPS truck triggered the automatic gate. Dolly tried to slip in behind it because of course she did, and the gate closed on her. Not crushing her, unfortunately, but trapping her inside my property perimeter. She slipped, cursed, screamed, shook the bars like a zoo animal. And the best part, the entire thing was live-streamed. Thousands watched Gate Karen struggle like a furious flamingo. When I finally opened the gate remotely, she sprinted to her BMW as if the ground was on fire. That clip went viral before dinner. That alone would have been enough for most people to back off. Not Dolly. Late one night, I got a mysterious manila envelope with no return address. Inside were HOA board meeting minutes, bank statements, handwritten notes. A mountain of evidence revealing that Dolly had been embezzling tens of thousands of dollars. Landscaping fees that never happened. Security patrols that didn't exist. Targeted harassment of minority families. People she pushed out of the neighborhood for not fitting her vision. And the person who sent it, her husband, Roger. He came to my house shaking, sat at my kitchen table, and confessed everything. Dolly abused her power. Dolly abused him. Dolly bullied elderly residents. Dolly funneled HOA funds into her family businesses. He said he couldn't live with it anymore. That was the moment everything changed for me. This wasn't just my fight. This was about every family she crushed under her designer heels. So I teamed up with an attorney, Sarah Blackwood. She was a bulldog in heels and absolutely lived for bringing down corrupt HOAs. We gathered victims, built a coalition, documented everything. But Dolly, sensing the walls closing in, lost her mind. At 2:17 a.m. My floodlights lit up like a stadium. Camera feed popped onto my phone. And there she was, Dolly crouched at my gate with a crowbar, whispering threats, trying to break the lock. I didn't call the cops, not yet. I just hit save on the footage and let her keep digging her own grave. When word spread that the next HOA meeting would have special announcements, people showed up like it was a concert. Over 200 residents, local news vans, deputies at the door. And right at 7 p.m., Dolly walked in, clearly sensing the wrongness in the air. She tried to shut the meeting down. She tried to ban non-compliant residents. She tried to threaten the reporter. Then the testimonies began. Maria Santos cried while describing how Dolly fined her for her kids' toys. A Vietnam veteran stood and told how Dolly trespassed to photograph weeds in his backyard. Families broke down while describing how she drained their savings. And then Sarah opened her briefcase. Bank records, handwritten notes, vendor fraud, civil rights violations, everything. Dolly screamed they were illegal. That's when Roger stood up, voice trembling. I gave them the documents. You've hurt people long enough. The room gasped, and I finally stood. Your reign is over, Dolly. Fraud, embezzlement, harassment, all in your own handwriting. The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed. Dolly froze in place like a malfunctioning robot. Deputy Martinez stepped forward and read the charges. The handcuffs clicked. And just like that, the tyrant of Willowbrook Estates was done. As they led her out of the room, she looked at me like she wanted one final victory. But there wasn't one left for her. Not anymore. And here's the thing I learned. The one line that stayed with me long after the echo of those handcuffs faded. Bullies don't stop when you ignore them. They stop when someone finally stands up and says, "Not anymore."